Charlton. Oh, what a goal! And here comes Charlton. Oh, great goal! Charlton, 3-1.
Bobby Charlton made it 4-1. Manchester United had well and truly done it. They were supreme soccer champions of Europe.
But in the northeast of England, very difficult part of the world, you know, and it was all mines and it was all shipbuilding.
There are three things for a young Bobby Charlton to do: go down the mines, work at the shipyards, or pursue his passion, football.
I came from a sporting pedigree because my grandfather used to take me out. He used to make me practice against the powder hole sprinters, which was they were Olympic sprinters, but they were professional sprinters. And the professional Wembley, so to speak, was powder hole in Edinburgh. And he used to train professional runners, and he used to teach me how to run and got me interested in football and telling me all about it. If you weren't in the mines and you were good enough, you had to go and search seek your fortune somewhere else. And if you were good enough, you were a footballer. And that's what happened with me. I was 15 and I found that I was good enough to play. Initially, when I was first starting to play football, people used to tell me that Newcastle itself didn't have a good coaching system for young players. And I was told that Manchester United had the best.
Charlton had his doubts. Was he even good enough? Being good at his own town was one thing, but in front of one of the best academies in the country was another.
I didn't see a lot of players who I thought were better than me until I came to Old Trafford.
Some of the later titled Busby babes had already broken in at the first team before Charlton got his opportunity.
So Matt Busby chose 5 or 6 young boys, and I'm taking them as 16, 17, 18-year-old boys, and he actually put them in the first team and dropped a lot of his experienced players.
Bobby Charlton was part of the most talented youth team ever. Then, Busby threw them into the first team.
And I never doubted that I would get a chance, because Matt Busby had always made it quite clear that if you were young enough and you were good enough, you know, you would get an opportunity. Well, I'd been playing in the reserves and scoring a lot of goals. And because it was the Busby Babes' introduction to the world of football at that particular time, to play for Man United's first team was unbelievable. I couldn't wait. I scored 2 goals. We won 4-2. I stayed and then I went out, depending on who was injured. Played about 14 games. So suddenly I was a professional player and I was on the road, and it was just magic.
Manchester United had just played a European match against Red Star in Belgrade and was stopping to refuel in Munich. After reaching the semi-finals of the European Cup, the squad was buoyant. Twice, the pilots had to abandon takeoff due to boost surging. They committed to another takeoff attempt. By this time, slush had formed on the runway as snow was falling heavily. Unfortunately, this decision would doom nearly half the crew on board.
And we seemed to be going on and on and on along the runway. It kept waiting for it to take off, and it never did. It ran straight off the end of the tarmac and through a fence.
My life was never the same. You know, suddenly all my pals were missing, and I'm playing in a team that was full of enthusiasm and had the whole world at their feet.
I'd like to say a few words to my mother. I hope she's okay.
Yes.
And taking it well.
Look at her while you're doing it.
She hasn't been down to see me, you know, but it's a bit a long way and I'm all right.
It's unbelievable, really, that something like that should happen and all your pals get killed and suddenly you're there with hardly a scratch on you.
And next, the cameras go out to the Cliff training ground. And here we meet the new Manchester United, the youngest of the Busby Babes, the reserve men whom fate has suddenly made first-team men.
It was a disaster for Manchester United, you know, but it was also a disaster for England, because suddenly all these great players, Duncan Edwards, four players who possibly would have been in the World Cup squad, even in the World Cup team, you know, weren't there. From being a reserve who occasionally got a game in the first team, suddenly I was one that was in the first team on a regular basis, and I was in a position of responsibility that I had to take.
We literally had to keep going, otherwise the club could have gone on.
And every player gave everything. But we're playing quite well, but not seeming to get the results. And at the end of the day, in the cup, it was like a release the cup.
He did say, Matt Busby, that it would take 5 years for the club to be really established as a real football power again. And it was nearly to the day in 1963 that we won the FA Cup.
We'd secured our position in the league for the following year. We'd won the FA Cup, and the following year we won the Championship with the same players.
England were playing host to the biggest tournament in the sport.
And I'm looking at our players, and I'm looking at our younger players, and I'm thinking, well, we have a real chance. And of course, then the manager changed from Walter Winterbottom to Alf Ramsey, and one of the first things he said is, we will win the World Cup in 1966. And Alf Ramsey picked the right players. He picked professional players. He picked players with the attitude that would understand what he was talking about. And we had a good leader in Bobby Moore. We had solid defence. We played France, which was also a very tough physical match, but we beat them 2-0 as well, I think, and we were into the quarter-finals. We respected the Germans and we respected the Argentinians, and we had to play the Argentinians in the quarter-final, and that was a hard game. I could not believe the behaviour of a captain who jeopardised his team's chances by his behaviour. And unfortunately, they've still not accepted it, and they thought that the referee was outrageous, but it was his own fault.
You tend to think of it after such a good result as though we've won it, and we haven't. We've one more hurdle to go. We just hope that we get over that one, and then we can really start to celebrate.
But the Portuguese we were familiar with. We played them often at club level, at international level.
All I remember was it was a super game, played very fast, just the way we like it, certainly.
And we thought that, what a chance for us. But we were watching them too, and Eusebio was scoring goals in a prolific way. Goalkeepers out, 2 fullbacks were immediately starting to come in. I thought, but if I trust the pitch and I just hit it true along the floor, I said and I just smooth as silk. It was electric. You can imagine the whole country was talking about nothing else. And we had to play against West Germany. We'd seen the semi-final when they beat Russia. I was told that I had to go with Franz Beckenbauer all the time.
And as a footballer, I've been looking forward so much to this. I didn't really want to man mark. But what I heard later was that Helmut Schön, the German manager, had told Franz Beckenbauer the same thing about me.
Jeff Hurst went through and scored, and suddenly the whistle went. I got really emotional. I started thinking about when I was a little lad, and I used to dream about being a footballer. And I used to think about the fans and that. Look at them, and listen to them. It was just magic.
He said to me, well, what about that, kid? What about that? And I said, well, Jackie, our lives are never going to be the same.
After his historic World Cup win, Charlton now had his sights on domestic success.
It was a bit of a golden time for our game, and we were getting to the finals of these competitions, and we were just nearly there a few times before, but eventually we got to the final of the European Cup and had some really tough games overseas to get there. It was more than a football match for Manchester United. It was after the accident and the sympathy that had gone away with it. If Manchester United ever got to the final of the European Cup, people were going to expect, well, that's right if they win it. Matt Busby was there, and there was so much emotion towards him.
Everybody makes for Matt Busby, because now all the problems that we've had in the past were finished. He'd achieved his goal and won the European Cup.
And it was emotional for Man United people, but it was the right thing to happen. It was the right thing to happen for the rest of the country. Instead of being after Munich, when everything collapsed, suddenly everything was all right again.
Wonderful reception. Friends, colleagues, loved ones, they're all here tonight. But there's one special somebody still missing. Here to present the award to the brother he calls our kid. Please welcome Jack Charlton.
He loved his football, and he's never put it at risk in any way, shape or form. Bobby Charlton is the greatest player I've ever seen. He's my brother. Well done, kid.